gonna work? Oh,
there it is. It's recording. I'm good.
All right, so this is Ben Halligan here with Ben Wiggins.
Hello.
Doing an interview for entrepreneurial planning. And Mr. Wiggins, I have your permission to record this interview?
Correct.
All right. So my first question is, what's your favorite mountain bike trail that you're riding right now?
Upper Black Mountain.
All right. I've not ridden that yet. I got to get on it. So getting down to the business here, you were a co-founder of Altamont Brewing, correct?
Correct.
And so what made you decide to become a co-founder of a brewery business?
Myself and my business partner knew the beer industry, and we liked beer, and we were kind of striking while the iron was hot, putting one in West Asheville. There wasn't a brewery in West Asheville, and there was quite a bit of available real estate that was at a good price, being as how we were coming off of the end of the recession at that point in time. So it was definitely like an entrepreneur's market as far as getting a space to accommodate a small brewery.
Right on. So could you briefly describe kind of what your role was, your general responsibilities, and contributions? So
I would say my role was more about marketing and bringing people in the building and overseeing the initial construction of the tasting room. That was kind of more my role, if anything, was more like events and getting people in and getting the place built out, sticking to the budget, and then from there on, I kind of split the duties with my business partner as far as managing staff and hiring and firing and, ordering and things of that nature, paying bills and stuff. He was a lot better at crossing the T's and dotting the I's for sure, and definitely knew more about the beer making process than I did, and I knew more about the music booking and the entertainment and the events and stuff.
So a lot of human social capital contribution.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Any
sure.
financial
little bit. Yeah. The initial startup cost was split between myself and my business partner. Myself to the lesser extent for sure. But yeah, we both put it all on the line for it for sure.
Did you guys have like a formal arrangement, or just based on a handshake kind of equity split?
It was basically on a handshake, but we ended up doing a partnership agreement when I initially formed the LLC before we really had the building. But once we had the building and everything was rolling, we actually went into an S Corp and did an actual partnership agreement.
Okay.
On the S Corp. That was like a 50-50 split on everything and what would happen in the case of this, what would happen in the case of that. We took out life insurance policies with each other, I think, as the beneficiaries for the business, things like that. We tried to keep it as 50-50 as possible, which can be difficult when there's a discrepancy on like how much one person financially puts on the stake versus the other.
Sure.
But it is the way it is,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the way most small businesses start.
Sure.
So,
yeah, we're just learning a lot about that right now. What did you like most about being an entrepreneur?
Knowing that every day I walked in, it was kind of all on us, and being able to provide sustainable jobs for people, a community space for people. We did everything from like School of Rock concerts there, which was kids rock and roll concerts, to 60th birthday parties, to retirement parties, to fundraisers. It was a good feeling to have like every part of the direction of the company in your hands, to be able to take it where you wanted to go, to not have to have somebody go, well, I don't like that plan, I think you're wrong, when you know you're right. Like what you're doing is the right call, And there's a bit of excitement about kind of, surprising yourself as well, too.
Right.
Yeah,
what you can
sure.
actually achieve and seeing the outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Seeing it all, like, happen. The minute you open up and people are in there, living your dream, it's a really cool thing.
Right on. Sure. What did you dislike most about being an entrepreneur?
7 days a week, 14, 15 hours a day for a couple of years.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it right there.
Sure.
Like,
sure
the work is there. They say work your own hours because, open your own business, work your own hours, because all of your hours are your own hours. Right. And you're going to work all of them.
Right.
That's pretty much the end of that story. Yeah. And it's, in the long run, it's totally worth it.
So, what were the greatest challenges? Was that one of the greatest challenges? What do you?
The greatest challenge probably wasn't that. We had a couple of people around. This one couple in the neighborhood that was a real big challenge that just didn't like us being there and just called the cops all the time. And, you know, for a long time, every weekend the cops showed up because of this one individual. Kind of going toe to toe with her and having to go to like noise ordinance meetings with the city and all this kind of crap. That was a big thing. Dealing with employees is always a big thing. Like owning your own business would be the most magical thing ever if you didn't have to deal with employees. And I loved all of them dearly. They were all our friends that we hired, you know, initially because that's kind of what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two things. There are definitely some people that didn't like us being there. That were the great minority. But yeah, that and dealing with employee conflict can always be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Can I say ass?
Sure.
Okay. Cool.
Absolutely.
All right. I feel like I'm addressing adults.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you wish you would have done differently? Anything?
Done differently, I would have planned the space out a little bit better for the brewery to be in a different location than ultimately where it ended up. I would have figured out a way to have more storage. Other than that, I wouldn't have done much differently. I think it came to life and it started breathing and it just went, man. It became an animal of its own. And just all we were doing was walking the dog at that point.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And just for the audience, you were on Haywood Road, right?
Yep, correct.
And,
right across the street from the auditorium is now Upcountry Brewing.
Right, right.
Yep, at the time it was Altamont Brewing Company.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'd have done much different, man. Really, honestly, we did for a couple of guys that didn't have rich family and didn't have rich anything. I mean, trying to dig up financing. We spent months just banks laughing us out of their place.
Yeah.
You know, and we did everything we could. I sold a car I had inherited and whatever, you know. We opened a place with like the last $178 in my checking account on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 2011, Saturday night.
Right. Jeez.
You know, it's
all right.
Throw it to the wind, man.
So what advice would you give someone starting a brewery?
In Asheville, don't. I mean,
okay.
I'm still in the beer business, and I think we're hitting a saturation point to where the pie is the same size, but there are a lot more slices.
Okay.
So I think there's a lot of room for breweries in the area, but I think there are better places to put one than in the city of Asheville at this point.
Okay. Which is a great segue, leads me to my next question. Do you feel the opportunity exists for a successful small batch brewery located in Swannanoa?
Yeah, I do. I do think so, honestly. It's I still have a tendency to spend a lot of time driving around. Like when I'm driving, I notice businesses that are for rent. I notice their parking. I notice how many bathrooms do they have? Do they have a sprinkler system? Do they have all these things that, like, code-wise, you're going to have to live up to be able to do it? What you need high ceiling clearance for tanks. You need all this stuff. But I think, you know, there are a lot of untapped markets that are not Asheville proper. And I think Swannanoa would definitely handle a brewery 100%.
Okay.
Because there's not much. So I think the having been in this business for 10 or 12 years, I think that the battle for shelf space and packaged goods that are going out that people take home with them is a battle left to the big 20 in the country. And what everybody's doing is going hyper local. It's a focus on their neighborhood brewery. It's a pre-prohibition model where every bar, every tavern basically made their own beer.
Yeah.
And everybody is, especially in this area of the country, in this area of the state, is super hyper local. They want local. Sure. And they want to walk to it, and they want to feel what's a personal vested stake in a local business. And if you can do that by drinking beer, shit, you know, that's the easiest way ever.
Right.
Right. So, but yeah, I think Swannanoa could totally do it.
Cool.
I've bought some buildings around there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so, just if you don't mind, I'll share with the audience. You're currently working at.
Yeah, manage
Catawba?
the 2 Asheville tasting rooms for Catawba Brewing, and I've been there for 4.5 years.
So you thinking you're gonna stick with the brewing business? That's the future. Would you ever go back to trying to own your own business?
I mean, if the opportunity presented itself, it's now it's a lot more financially prohibitive to start a brewery than it was even in 2011 when we started Altamont. Stuff was cheaper. There's a trade-off for that. Banks, at that time, they wouldn't loan money if you were starting to open a brewery, because if you did fail, they didn't know what to do with the equipment. There weren't people out there that were brokers for used brewery equipment, really.
Sure.
Now there are the infrastructure's there for people to be able to offload the equipment if they're not successful. So the banks feel a little more secure about doing traditional loans for it. If the opportunity arose, I'd 100% go out on my own again.
Right on.
Don't tell my bosses that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wiggins. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely, dude.
All right.